Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Johngy or Else podcast. I am, of course, who else but Tommy Else. With me, as always, is the newly crowned Chicago media champ, new media champ. Sorry, the Chicago new media champ. It's not a real title, so it's okay that I screwed it up.
It's an insult to me and to Elliot Serrano.
From johngysbeat.com, Mr. John Robleski.
I was going to ask you how you are, but I don't care how you are. You're a jerk. Let's go right into the show.
Let's get right into the show because this is an exciting moment here on the Johngy or Else podcast. I mean,
not only do we have a returning guest, we have a double feature today.
Yeah, we have two guests. First of all, we're bringing them back by popular demand. The letters have been overflowing the mailbox. The inbox is more than I can sift through. So we have answered the call, and yes, Mr. David Vox Mullen is back on the show with us, but he is not alone, because he will soon be touring alongside none other than wrestling legend, Mr. Al Snow. And we have both of them on the show today. And John and I are very excited about this. We've already made our plans to go and see one of the events upcoming. And we'll give you the information on where you can find it. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it and hang out with David Vox Mullen and Al Snow.
For the Johngy or Else podcast, I am, of course, Johngy. With me is Tommy Else. And today we have some very special guests. We have wrestling legend Al Snow. We have comedy legend David Vox Mullen. How are you, boys?
Good. How you doing, John?
I am doing well.
I'm doing so well. I think things are pulling up inside me as we speak.
How many of those do you have?
What do you mean?
Well, if somebody asks how you're doing.
I don't know. I just make them up as I go along. So it just depends on how
improvise.
I feel. You know,
man.
Well, you know what I was thinking before I got on here?
What?
Maybe you guys could, could concur with me, all three of you.
Sure.
But I've been around for a while. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think in my entire life I've ever met a baby named Larry.
You could be right. You could be onto something there.
Well, it's true, but you figure at some point there had to have been a baby named Larry. But yeah, you don't meet a baby named Larry, and I don't know anyone naming their kids Larry these days either.
Or Harry. I've never seen a hairy baby. Well, I have seen a hairy baby.
Yeah, that's not pretty.
And let me tell you something: that belief that there's no thing as an ugly baby, that's a lie.
Yeah,
that's 100% a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. I've seen some ugly babies, where you got to try and not sell it. You're like,
yeah.
Oh, look at my kid. You're like, woof, woof. Good Lord.
Man. I remember being a kid and like junior high, and there was a young kid riding a bike. Yeah, not at all. But I remember being a kid, and there was another kid in the neighborhood, and his name was Hank. And I thought, there's no way that mom saw him come out and said, "That's a Hank right there."
I agree. I had a kid when I was like, very young, and his name was Buddy. And I'm like, really? Like, that's your name, Buddy?
It's not a nickname or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a pal to your parents? I don't understand. Anyway,
we're off to a great start, guys.
We are.
Yeah. So
I saw a hairy baby once. His name was Raven.
Oh no.
Wow.
Scotty Levy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get this back on course.
Go ahead.
Yeah, get back on course, dude.
As close as I can do it. The reason why we have both you guys on, other than the fact we just love talking to both of you, is you guys have a comedy tour coming up. How did you guys get involved and get that thing going?
Well, I basically finally acquiesced. Dave has tried to talk me into this for quite some time. And And so I thought, hey, why not? I'll give it a shot. What's the worst they could do? Laugh me off the stage? Hey,
that might be the best that happens.
Yeah. I was like, when we were in the locker room, Mick Foley would tell everybody, hey, when I get done wrestling, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. We'd all laugh, And now he is a stand-up comedian, and nobody's laughing anymore. So.
Yeah, I went to
nobody's
his show.
Laughing now.
I went to Mick Foley's show last fall.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know what was cool though? That guy, he raised. I don't remember what it was called, but they did this thing where he basically live auctioned the shirt off of his back, and he raised within like 5 or 6 minutes of bidding, I think about $4,000.
See, now here's the thing, okay, Tommy. If he had auctioned that he leave the shirt on his back, he could have raised probably
double easy. Right. Yeah. Right. You're right.
I've seen him naked.
Well, I'll indulge a little bit more and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, how did you get together?
Because Al and I had met years ago. I think it was at Six Flags through Ken Anderson, because Ken and I were doing that podcast.
Yeah.
And so I went to go see Ken, and Ken brought me, behind the curtain and introduced me to Al, and that's how we met. And then probably like a year later, I got a call from Al because he was getting ready to go overseas to do to open for Mick Foley. And so he just, wanted my input as far as, some of his material. And I was flabbergasted because the stuff was just absolutely on par with some of the greatest comedians I've ever heard. And so Al and I were on the phone for like an hour and a half that day, just riffing, going back and forth. I remember saying to him, this is before the pandemic, but it was like, hey, we should literally go do some stuff. We'll go do some shows or whatever. And Al, was like, yeah, it sounds like fun. We never really touched base on that. And then the pandemic happened and we just like, forget it, whatever. And then honestly, just not too long ago, I had the opportunity to run back into Al up in Wisconsin at a show. And we just kind of said, hey, we never really kind of finished talking about that. And as Al said, I just kind of cornered him and said, we should really do this,
Yeah.
And so we got serious and said, well, what are the logistics look like, and how would we do it? And we found a way. And thankfully in my life and career, I had a fresh opening of availability. So it was like, let's do it. So we've got a little team together here that we've been going back and forth and getting things scheduled out. And we're going to do a bunch of wonderful evenings with Al Snow.
That
So
sounds great.
what do we expect? Is it wrestling stories, or is it comedy, or is it a mix of both?
I think it's a mix of all of that, plus a Q&A and I think, I kind of let Dave kind of lead the way, because this, quite honestly, I've only done it once before, when I opened for Mick in Australia. And, and I'm very much a kind of make it up as I go along. That's kind of what I've been brought up on and I've learned over the years, but I know that there has to be a little bit of a structure and I kind of rely and lean heavily on Dave to do that. So
when
but the thing that I think we want more than anything is for people to just come and really have fun. Just, I know that's a pat answer to say, but if people don't walk out of there and feel like, regardless if they thought the jokes were funny or they found the stories entertaining, but just that they walked out of there with a sense like they were as much a part of the show and had as much fun as David and I have while we're doing it, then I think that will be a success.
Absolutely.
We're going to have fun whether the audience comes with us or not. We just hope they come with us.
Yeah, true. But it would be nice to have them have fun too.
Can I ask you, when you did open for Mick Foley, how did you feel it went? How did you feel about it?
I thought it went really well. I just went out there and each night was a different night and a different audience. And I just kind of related things that I thought were funny, and they reacted very well. I didn't try to tell any stories per se, because that's basically what Mick does. Mick goes out and does he doesn't do stand-up comedy per se, as he does a spoken word kind of act, and he tells his story, and if I do tell any stories, my stories are all about all of the unusual and the quirky and quite honestly unbelievable events that transpire on a regular basis. I in my experience, because I've done acted in movies and other things, and when I'm on the set, they'll ask me questions, and inevitably, some stories will come up about events, and these people who are in the entertainment business will just look at me like there's no way that could possibly happen. It's so ridiculous and off the beaten path that these people can't exist, and this can't really happen, because it sounds like it's something that you would write for TV or for a movie. I mean, my whole 40 years has been like living events like The Hangover. You know what I mean? Just that absurd and that ridiculous from town to town. I mean, just things that come up, and the people that you encounter, and it used to be even crazier back in the day. Because we didn't have cell phones, and you didn't have, and I was around probably some of the most eclectic and the most intelligent and the most creative and eccentric people, that if they were not in the wrestling business, they'd probably be in prison somewhere, because they just couldn't function in normal society. So, that
I believe
led to a lot of weird events.
Well, and every time I've had the opportunity to just hang out with Al on a casual setting, and we start talking about anything, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time where I haven't laughed my ass off. I mean, Al is just the way Al delivers any story is he sees the humor in the world. And so I get such a kick out of that, being a professional comic who works very hard to try to come up with these things. And when I talk with Al, he sees the same funny that I do, and immediately we're on the floor laughing just from the stories that he tells. So
that's awesome.
I know that this event is just going to be spectacular. People are going to hear things that they've never heard before, and they're going to see Al in a somewhat new light. I mean, Al has always, I would argue, been one of the funnier people on television, but
really,
in this in this setting, it's going to be the spotlight is going to be on more of the humor of that, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've always, from what I've seen of Mr. Snow here, and both on, in the ring and then outside the ring and things like that, interviews and everything. I mean, no, I can tell that you've got a natural sense of humor about you, and you are a lighthearted person, and you're I think you have a lot of likability, and that really opens up doors for you to be able to go out there, and I think people will feel very comfortable and relaxed and be able to watch you just have fun on stage. It sounds like a fun night.
I hope so. This is definitely, I'm not coming from a place that I just assume that I can step across the fence, so to speak, and just hit the ground running. I'm well aware that with anything, you have to really work at and pay your dues and hone what it is you're doing. And I'm hoping that with Dave's guidance and experience, we can together, develop an act that people that invest their time, their money, and their effort, because believe me, this is, the most important thing to me, more than anything else, is that if anyone makes the investment of their time, their money, and their effort to come to see us, I want those people to leave feeling like they had an experience that was worthy of that investment, and that even for just a little bit, you know, because that's really the motivation behind why they come is that they want to forget, you know, their troubles and their aggravations and their stresses, and they just want to have a good time, whether it's watching a wrestling show or watching a comedy act or, you know, watching a movie, whatever it is. And so I want to make sure that, you know, that's what they get, that they get what it is they were hoping for and expecting.
I have no doubt. I'm sorry, John. I have no doubt that people will be walking out of there very pleased, and I'm certain that you are in good hands here with Mr. Mullen. I know he definitely knows what he's doing, and I know that he will be looking out for you every step of the way too. So
that's good, because I don't have a clue what I'm doing.
Don't let him fool you. I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. We're just gonna go out there and riff the whole night.
I was gonna ask. You guys are doing a bunch of cities. You're doing some cities relatively close to each other. Will there be a difference in the act from city to city, like some differences, or
sure?
Well, one of the main things that Al and I bond on is the fact that I do a lot of improv comedy as well, and you know, Al and I have discussed at length the similarities between what he would have to do in the ring. Sure. As far as improvisation, let alone on the mic, that is very similar to things that I had to do in front of an audience as well. And so, while some things, the outline and the structure of the show will probably remain the same, but the content will always be organic, because we're going to have a different audience every night. You know, and believe me, if you're coming to the show, we're going to talk to you. Yeah. So you will definitely be immersed in this experience.
Well, John and I have already booked our plans, and we're going to be there on the 15th, October 15th. We will be at that show. So we will be there. We will be excited. And
you're not going to punch me again, are you?
Yeah, absolutely, John. You got such a punchable face. Yeah.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate that.
It is tradition. Will Head be there?
Well, you know, Head and I are negotiating that.
Does he want to cut?
We'll see. You know, they always want to cut, and they always complain. You know, they just bitch constantly because it's like, well, I don't, you know, are we going to fly? If we're going to fly, I want a seat for once. And I'm like, you can ride in the bag in the overhead bin. Well, I can't breathe in the overhead bin. I'm like, you can't breathe. And I couldn't hear you up there bitching. Well, you know, if we go through TSA, you know, they put me through the X-ray, I might get cancer. And I'm like, it's not like, you know, TSA agent standing there with a lead shield. Don't worry, you'll be fine. You know, but it never ends.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing, because, you know, when we're doing contract negotiations, Head always wants their own contract deal. It's weird.
Always. They can be difficult. They can be. You know,
my younger brother got into pro wrestling before I did, actually, and huge fan of yours, and loved the Head gimmick. I mean, he was a huge fan of yours. He's the one who made me aware of Al Snow. He was like, you'll love this guy. So so I would be remiss if I didn't let you know on his behalf.
Without him being a fan, I would not have a job. So
yeah, well, he made me one too. So yeah, you got two fans out of there right there. So
thank you.
I want to touch on something that Al mentioned earlier, and this stems back to when we were talking on the phone and stuff. But Al has always said that, you know, look, I between all of us, I mean, Al is a celebrity, right? So he is
totally,
you know, I mean, he doesn't believe it, but he is. And it's like, there is definitely going to be an element of people who just want to come and see him in person. And that's cool. Sure. What I love, what really, I mean, I know a handful of wrestlers who think they're funny and would love to do what Al and I are doing. But the reality of the thing is that Al is coming from a place of, I don't want to say non-reality, because, like, you know, he's so funny, but he made a point of saying, you know, well, you know, I don't expect to just walk in and have thousands of people and like, he takes this seriously. And that to me is just, it means so much, because he's not just another wrestler trying to just parlay his career into something in another form of entertainment, And not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. A lot of these people, they need to work, but Al is serious about entertaining people, and it's all about, he's like, I don't care if we're playing in a room for 10 people, like that.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. And so when he would say things like that, the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, this guy is going to just have a blast, because he's coming from it in a very humble position.
Well, he's showing a lot of,
he has to.
He's showing a lot of respect for it, and
absolutely,
and understanding what it takes to get it. And I think a lot of that, not to be presumptuous, but must resonate from just, Al, your experience coming up in the world of wrestling, and that you will work for a gig where you are in front of 10 people, but as long as those 10 people go home happy, that's what matters, and I think that mindset and that work ethic is what he's probably bringing into this.
100%. And he didn't even know this, but like it speaks to me too, because I think I posted it last week. I was invited to do a show at a venue that honestly I hadn't done in over a decade. It was a bar inside of a bowling alley, and I just kind of did one of those things where I was like, have I fallen? And I was 100% wrong for thinking like that. And we went out there, and the room was absolutely packed to the walls, and the audience was just into it. It was one of the best performances of my career.
Good for you, man.
I had to tell myself, what the hell's the matter with you? You could have missed out on this with that stupid ego bullshit. Mm-hmm. And so, I was very humbled, and I wanted to tell everybody, look, you know what? I've got my faults, but I truly love entertaining people. I will do this stuff until I croak.
Yeah.
I hope to die on stage, just not die on stage.
Yeah.
But seriously, I will do this. I'm not suited for pencil pushing or behind the desk. I am an entertainer, and I always have been. And Al resonates that same feeling. It's such a perfect marriage of what his skill set is, what my skill set is. And I think it's just going to be so much fun for the people who are able to come out and see it.
Well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, the more fun you guys have, the more fun the audience is going to have.
Absolutely.
I've seen you, and I've seen your act several times. Al, I've seen you on TV and met you in person a million times. I can't wait to see you guys do this together.
Yeah, I've been truly blessed to get to do what I've loved to do for as long as I've gotten to do it. And I've, always applied the same mindset that whether it's 6 people or 6,000 or 60,000, I go out there to make sure that, those people that are there are, I'm worthy of their time, their effort, and their expense. And I'm going to apply the same approach to this. And I can't say enough, like, I have nothing but respect for, David and any comedian and what they do. And, I'm not going to be so presumptuous as to think that, well, I can just walk in here and, there's not a learning curve. There's not, every art has its own form of etiquette and, dues that you have to pay. Mm-hmm. And I'm not afraid to go in and do those things to earn my way, to earn my stripes, and and not just expect that I'm going to walk in the door and people are just going to fawn all over me, or or an audience is just going to pile through the door. I've got to earn them, and I want to go out there and to do it.
That's awesome, man.
Or he ends up getting canceled for something stupid we did.
Yeah, that's there's always.
But at least he'll go down knowing he tried, man.
Or at least until another kid.
I'll go down if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down in flames. So And listen, I'm no stranger to that. I was canceled before cancel culture was a thing. I literally had my action figure pulled from the shelves of Walmart because 2 women who were, of all things, assistant professors of communication at a college in Georgia, wrote a letter to the Atlanta Constitution, and nationally, I was canceled before canceling was even a thing that people knew they could cancel.
What was their reason? Why did they?
It was great. You know, 'cause it was awesome because, of course, you know, you're an assistant professor of communications, and without doing any actual due diligence or homework on the topic that you're going to espouse your opinion in a public forum about, because who would do that, especially a professor of communications, saw my action figure, assumed it was a severed head of a woman, even though I've never referred to it as a female in any way. And it was not a severed head. It was it was a mannequin head.
It's never had hair either.
But they said, and I quote, it was a training manual for future spousal abusers.
Wow.
And I was like, and I immediately, like, you know, wrote Jack Specific, the toy company, and was like, should we include one of these with the action figure going forward? You know, where, you know, we have instruction manuals on how to abuse your spouse.
Wow.
They didn't take that as a good marketing idea.
Wow.
So,
Communications.
Yeah. Professors of communications of all things. And then you would think they would know better, but hey, that's how the Salem witch trials started. And that was how the McCarthyism was started. And, you know, where we could just point fingers, and hey, that's how cancel culture works, you know, which I find fascinating. And this is just my personal opinion, but everybody was in outrage and an uproar about the completely worked slap by Will Smith at the Oscars on, you know, Chris Rock. How dare he over a joke? Okay, let me get this straight. So it's bad to slap someone over a joke, but it's okay to destroy Kevin Hart's career over a joke he told 15 years ago, and he ruined his chances of hosting the Oscars. But that's okay. I'd rather you slap me repeatedly than destroy my life and my professional credibility.
You know, it's funny that he brings that up, because right after the slap heard around the world as a comic, we started seeing a lot of people in the audience get a little more bold with their heckling.
Oh, really?
If anybody who's ever seen me perform knows that I love going after hecklers. I am not afraid of anybody.
Slice and dice.
I'm pretty brutal verbally. But at the same time, right after that Oscars thing, we were doing a show, and somebody got up, and I said to him, I was like, dude, this ain't the Oscars. I'm not Chris Rock. I will drop you. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you now, with Al on stage with me, I'm just going to get even more emboldened. I'm going to start fights now.
Al, you're still training down at OVW.
Yes. Yeah. We still operate OVW, and OVW is the only actually accredited by the State Office of Proprietary Education as a trade school in the world.
Very cool.
For professional wrestling, sports, entertainment, and broadcasting.
And so you're still enjoying that?
Oh, very much, very much. You know, we're doing great things and down here in OVW, and still with the trade school, and then with our live television show that we have every week. And we just came off an incredible pay-per-view this past Saturday night that was on Fight
big
TV.
One.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was a major success in every way. And quite honestly, I was supposed to write television for this week last night, and I put it off because I had to go to Bloomington, Indiana for a Comic-Con appearance, where I saw a guy who actually had if anybody's a comic book fan, the actual original Mysterio from the Spider-Man comic books outfit with the dome and
yeah. No,
I've never, as a cosplay, I've never seen anybody do the old school Mysterio.
Yeah,
and he looked awesome.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and that was a very cool, like sci-fi looking type of outfit.
Yes,
very cool.
The opaque globe over the head,
totally.
The green outfit with the eyes on the
totally
on the lapels,
I was going to tell you, speaking of training, about 10, 11 years ago, when I had first started my training, my very first trainer was Brad J. And he very often, and I've told John this many times, throughout training sessions and stuff, would reference you all the time. And he would say, like, Al would teach us this, or Al would say that, or this is the way Al does this, and you know, and so I kind of got a little trickle down wisdom from Al Snow through him.
Good.
But it was all very good, and I can tell you that guy has just an unbelievable love and amount of respect for you. I can just tell just the way he would talk about you, and like I said, he interwove you into lessons all the time and stuff. So
yeah. Well, I love Jay. He's a good kid.
Yeah. I had one other.
I'll tell you what, man. Al's tutelage has permeated so much of pro wrestling. I mean,
yeah.
You're constantly hearing name drops about Al. You know, even in circles outside of wrestling that I interact in my world. I mean, people are talking about Al. I mean, he's a really good guy, and it's he's got an amazing you know, set of experience and a great career, and we're going to showcase the hell out of that.
That's awesome.
Starting this week.
I had one other question for you, Al.
Sure.
This is a question that's been almost 20 years in the making for me here.
Okay.
Are you my dad?
Yeah. And if so, can I get on that contract? No. So in the early 2000s, here in Chicago, we had a around the time of like a pay-per-view or something like that, or if there was a WWE show coming to town, I would see you on channel surfing with Lisa Aprati.
Yes.
Lisa
was awesome. She was a terrific person. Really was.
Show.
We would if we caught it at the right time, and it was just like, man, we're like, how does she know him? How does she get him out? Because you were like on all of the time, and we were just like, so we were always like, what's the connection here? Like, were they friends in high school? Are they dating? Or like, like, why? How does she get Al every single time? And there was one time where you had her, and you guys did the interview at the arena, and and like we used to watch that. I used to watch that all the time. So I saw all the old.
She is such a terrific person, really is. And how that all occurred was back during that time period. I was kind of the go-to guy for the office whenever it came to media. And the reason was because, a lot of the guys considered it a burden. They didn't want to do it, and they would be difficult to deal with, or they'd be an aggravation for the office. And I would jump right on it because I felt like it was an opportunity for me to expand my reach and to build my name on my own. And it didn't matter where we went. If TV, especially when wrestling was hot, TV stations would show up, newspapers would show up, magazines would show up, and they would immediately come and get me, and they go, hey, we need this, can you do it? And I go, yeah, sure. And so we were in Chicago at the time, it was the Rosemont Horizon, and that was where I first met Lisa. And then Lisa would always put in, we hit it off, and for me, it was a great opportunity to connect with the audience in Chicago. Yeah. And,
you did.
Quite honestly, you did. I loved going to Chicago because I'd come out and that place would go crazy. But it was because a lot of it, a real large part of it was because of the opportunity I had to be on Lisa Aprati's show. It really was. And I was fully aware of that. And I loved, and she's such a great person. And it was so much, it was so easy and so much fun to go on and play off of her on the show and just, do that. And it really helped me in Chicago and in that area to reach an audience.
Yeah. It did, and you guys did have very good chemistry, and it just seemed like you guys were just always having fun, and like we were saying earlier, it's it's fun to watch people have fun, and you guys just always seemed like she always seemed excited to have you on and get to talk with you and everything, and just as a fan watching it and everything, it was cool to see that side of you and see you kind of just being yourself and everything, and so it's something that I guess people only here in Chicago would have seen, but me and my friends really honestly enjoyed it, and we loved that that you came out and would do that sort of press and everything.
It was like I said, it was I can't thank her enough for everything. She was just such a wonderful person, and it was so easy to, you know, I would do things and say things purposely just to try to throw her off. And, you know, she never knew, because, you know, we didn't script anything. We didn't, you know, and I have a tendency to just say whatever I want to say. Plus, at the time, the majority of the audience thought I was insane anyways.
Sure,
So,
that's true. You could get away with anything at that point.
yeah.
So,
So I could get away with murder. You know what I mean? I could
Yeah.
I could be as ridiculous as I wanted to be. And then, that kind of insanity is probably the most freeing thing you could possibly experience. I mean, it really is. I mean, nobody knows what to expect. And then they just go, oh, well, he's crazy. So,
yeah. Well, John, do you have anything else you'd like to?
No,
You want to tell people about your
plug the
dates,
show.
where people can find you? When can they come see you? Where are you going to be at? Dave,
Where to find out information?
Dave, you got
of course. So right now we're getting ready. This week is our last week of preparation. We start the tour September 3rd in Oregon, Illinois. I got excited when the call from Oregon came in because I thought I haven't been to the Northwest, and then they said Illinois, and I thought there's an Oregon, Illinois. Okay,
well, it's Northwest.
It is
Illinois.
Northwest. Yeah,
this is true. Just not as many miles as I was hoping.
not as far Northwest.
It's about like 40 minutes outside of Rockford, but yeah. So we're starting there, and that's going to be at the Maxon's Riverboat and Restaurant September 3rd. And then we've got, you know, a bunch of dates coming up: DC, Memphis, Georgia, Pittsburgh. All of that information, you can come to my website, davidvoxmullen.com, or if you just go to any of my social media at David Vox Mullen, the link is in the bio. We have the link for all of Al's show dates there. You know, check out Al's social media. He's got stuff that he's posting too. And just a Google search will pretty much pop up what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be at.
We'll throw the poster up as well for this with all the dates on it, so everyone can see that. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on here. And real quick before I let you go, Al, I just wanted to thank you personally for everything that you've done in the ring and everything that you've done outside of the ring, and all the people you've influenced, because like I said, I have been influenced by people that you have had direct influence over, and you'll never know how far your reach has gone. And I don't know anybody personally who doesn't feel the same way. And thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. I mean, if it weren't for yourself and others, I would never be blessed enough to get to do, you know, what I love to do. So, you know, and I'm hoping that, you know, I can, you know, of course, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when my career comes to an end in the ring, which it's slowly drawing to a close. But, you know, and I'm very fortunate that, you know, through OVW, I get to still live vicariously through all of my kids, you know. But I'm hoping that this venture will be a new chapter that will allow me to go out and continue to entertain audiences.
Absolutely.
And,
we're excited for you, man.
Very
we're excited, and we're excited to be coming to see you at the show. So we'll see you in person in about a month or so.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you guys there.
Yeah, no, we
absolutely can't wait, man. This is gonna be fun.
I'm excited too, because I mean, if I stop and think, you know, just for me as a performer, you know, how special it is, because, you know, I think back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, I was a much younger guy watching, you know, Monday Night Raw, and I remember seeing a guy who was just charismatic and engaging with the audience, and was just quick, and just the wit was there, and it was just, and I saw that guy and I said, my God, you know, this guy is going to be a major star. And that man was The Rock, but Al was also on the show.
Very nice.
And if you had told me that I got to do a show with him, you know, that'd be cool. So
he was incredible.
Yeah, maybe someday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good turn.
Someday. Just play something.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again so much
Thank you
for
very
being
much,
with
guys.
us. Good luck out there, and we will see you on the road.
See you guys there.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Al Snow with comedian David Vox Mullen. Well, maybe I should say it was comedian Al Snow with comedian
It
David
was
Vox
comedian
Mullen.
Al Snow. Yeah. I'm blown away, man. I'm blown away. You know, just to get
What a
to
great
sit,
combo.
just to get to sit to talk with Al Snow a little bit, and David's right. I mean, the two of them is a very well. That's one of those things where just the stars align. They both bring something different to the table, and then when you mix it all together, it's just got so much potential. So I am honestly excited about seeing
Oh,
it
I am too.
because I mean, I mean, before we officially went on the air, I mean, Al was cracking jokes like so fast. I was like, all right, we got to like start the
Save it for the
show.
show.
Yeah, start the show because it's like we're missing some great stuff here. It's like, like
Well, I mean,
I'm like he's like coming right out of the gates. It's like this, and I'm already cracking up. I mean, you've met Al a million times, I think.
I've
Right?
met Al a million times. His lovely wife Jessica.
Yeah.
And David Vox. I mean, I've seen him in person several times. I've interviewed him a few times. Couldn't be a nicer guy. Couldn't be a funnier guy than David. And you saw the chemistry they had together.
Yeah.
I know they've known each other for a long time, but you can see, that tonight wasn't rehearsed. They're just going back and forth. And imagine what they will do when they have time to kind of work on an act, and they'll still improv, but they'll
some
have
structure to it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's a
Well,
great combination.
Well, this was my first time getting to, which is funny because of all the places I've been and things I've done, and Al is actually one of the easier guys to find around here too. I somehow have never crossed paths with him in person, so it's funny that this ended up being the way that I finally got to have a few words with him and everything. But
I interviewed him way years ago at Wizard World before I even had video, and it was just a crappy audio thing I had, and I put pictures up, and it's somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, so to interview him now, this many years later, and it actually more of a long form interview was really cool.
I've met his daughter Brittany a few times. Very, very lovely girl. Very nice. Very sweet. No, this is cool. This was a very fun episode. It was really great to talk to both of them. I have not gotten to see David do his stand-up live before. I've seen him on YouTube and things like that. So this will be a double first for me.
And you get to hang with me.
That's
the Chicago New Media Champ.
Okay, let's save that for another time to talk about. No, but it's I am excited. What it was interesting, they were talking about Mick Foley and how he does kind of just tell stories, and they're funny, but it is just more like road stories in wrestling. And
that was what Piper was too.
Right, and and I saw Jake Roberts, and he did the same thing. And it is entertaining. I mean, it's
absolutely.
I mean, like, I love a good road story. I mean, from anybody, from the independents on up. I mean, like everybody. I mean, I've got some good road stories, and Al was saying how there's just some things that are just so ridiculous that you just couldn't imagine this happening anywhere outside of the world of pro wrestling. And I think you and I have even experience some things like that ourselves. So I totally buy it, especially when he's talking about the cast of characters that he was spending time with and everything, and especially the guys that he was back then. I mean, if you're talking like ECW and stuff like that, and WCW, I mean, all those guys, I mean, those, he's right. Yeah, it's like if they weren't wrestlers, they probably would be like in an asylum or in a prison or
at least some of them,
or in Congress. I mean, it's something like that. They do end up. A lot of them do end up becoming in politicians. So
I wasn't surprised by Al because I know enough about him and I've talked to him enough times. I wasn't surprised, but I'm still a little impressed with the dedication and the sincerity and the focus that he's going in on this. This isn't just him going out there and seeing what happens. This is him dedicating himself to making this thing.
He's made a decision and he's chosen a path. And like I said, it was just the way he was talking about everything sounds like a guy who came up in the wrestling world and knew that whether you're performing in front of 10 people or 100, that you go out there and you do your damnedest because those people took the time to come out and see you and pay to see you and either cheer or boo you, buy a shirt or a foam head or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's just, he's been through that and he teaches that. I'm sure he teaches that to his students.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, I've talked to Kel Hero from Milwaukee area many times, and he loves Al, absolutely loves Al, refers to him as his uncle. Mm-hmm. And David Hero, of course, super friend up there in Wisconsin too. And I don't know anybody that said a bad word about Al ever, except that's what
I told him the same thing. It was like I don't know anybody that I've met, even some of the biggest jerks in this business, have all had nothing but complete and utter respect for that man, and I see why. I can see why. So. I wish
mark your calendars, people. Look for the shows. Go out and see them if you can, because this is going to be a fun evening.
Yeah, if you're in the area and you want to really double up on the star power, I mean, you could come out to that show on the 15th and not only get to see Al Snow and David Vox Mullen, but you could get to see who else but Tommy else, and you could try to avoid having to look at John Robleski,
Chicago's new media champ.
Well, anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. This has been a real fun one.
Thanks again to Al and David Vox Mullen.
Yeah, for very much. Yeah. So it is worth mentioning that the once defunct Johngy or Else YouTube channel is now officially up and running, full of content. It has videos related to conversations we've had on the show, guests that we've had. You can see David Vox Mullen's music video is up on there from his most recent release. You can see Regan Lydale's very first match that we discussed. You can see me make the hot dog omelet and give an instructional video on how you too can make a hot dog omelet.
That'll draw views.
So all you have to do is just visit the tube and look for Johngy, or else hit the subscribe button and just sit back and soak it up. We've got episodes of Pinfalls and our new show, Pinfalls Retro, where we talk about old pay-per-views or past pay-per-views and do a deep dive on them, break them down match by match.
I will say this, and for those of you that are looking for that, Tommy did a wonderful job of breaking down Pinfalls Retro into match by match.
Yeah, so if you don't want to listen to the whole thing and you want to just hear about a specific match, you can just watch that match, 10 minute clip or something like that. Unless it's Triple H versus HBK, which I think we talked about for about 40 minutes. But
longer than the
it
match.
it was worth yeah, it was a longer match, yeah. But it was totally worth it. So also there will be more video from the podcast on there. We usually have video from the guests. We may have some exclusive content also available on there forthcoming.
The Taco Salad Tour.
So definitely check out the YouTube channel. And then in the meantime, per usual, John, if they want to find out where they can find the Chicago new media champion, where can they go?
They can just search for Johngy's Beat, and it'll all show up. More importantly, they can look at the new Johngy or Else podcast on Spotify or on YouTube. Where can they find Tommy Else?
They can find me on the gram at Tommy_Else, on the Twit at Tommy_Else, on the Tube at either my own channel, the Tommy Else YouTube channel, or, of course, the Johngy or else YouTube channel. So, John, I'll let you take a stab at closing out what has been an otherwise exciting episode here.
For the Johngy or else podcast, once again, thank you to Al Snow and David Vox Mullen. I am John of johngysbeat.com. Joined as always by who else? Tommy Else.
You screwed it up.
I did that on purpose.
Ah,
You say I screwed it up. I say I improved it. Move on. Thanks for listening, folks.